What is going on, y'all? Gamers Goon here today with your NBA first round draft grades. Obviously, the draft just concluded here about 30-ish minutes ago, something like that. The draft just wrapped up. And then there's some names, obviously, that made it to day two that I didn't think were going to make it day two. So, obviously, we got a lot to talk about. Let's get right into it with the Atlanta Hawks at number one, taking Zachary Ricochet. Um, Obviously, we kind of expected this to happen. There was some smoke and mirrors there late that Donovan Clingan could be in play. He was not in play ultimately for the Atlanta Hawks. But Zachary Ricochet comes in, plays wing for them. I think they needed a big man more than they needed a wing. I'm probably going to give it a B. Not super high on him over Alexander Sarr. I would have much rather preferred Alexander Sarr in the situation that the Atlanta Hawks are in. So I'm going to give that a B. I don't think Zachary Ricochet is a bad player. I just think the fit's not really there. I think that Alexander Sarr would have been a much better selection for a team like the Hawks that obviously have a lot of wings currently on their team. Next, we had the Washington Wizards. They took Alexander Sarr. If you've seen some of my stuff, I think Alexander Sarr should have been number one. I think Alexander Sarr is that guy. Alexander Sarr very high on what he can become in the NBA. I think the floor is pretty solid. Maybe you'd want a little bit higher of a floor, but I do think he'll be a fine NBA player. Really like the idea of him in the Wizards. Obviously, Jordan Poole there. They made a couple other draft picks. Before the draft, they traded Denny Abdia, which was really, really questionable for them. Wasn't really super hyped for that. I really thought Denny Abdia fit into their long-term plans. Apparently not. He went to the Blazers for Malcolm Brogdon and pick 14. We're not here to grade the trades, but that I'm just letting you know what the trade was. But Alexander Sarr is there. I'm giving that an A. Really love Alexander Sarr's game and what he could potentially become for the Wizards if he does turn out to be kind of that stretch big that we can imagine him to be, that can score, ball handle a little bit, and obviously be offensive and defensive threat on both sides of the ball. And then three, we got Houston Rockets taking Reed Sheppard. I love this pick. It is a Fred VanVleet insurance policy so that once Fred VanVleet's contract's up in a couple years, you can let him go, do his thing. And obviously, Reed Sheppard's going to be behind Fred VanVleet. He's going to be able to learn from Fred VanVleet, another undersized guard. I think when you look at Reed Sheppard, he's going to play point guard in the NBA. I think that is a really, really good insurance policy to have behind Fred VanVleet. So I'm also giving that one an A. Then we get the San Antonio Spurs. San Antonio Spurs decided to select Stephon Castle. I thought maybe this is where things could get interesting. They kind of went a little chalky here still and got what I view to be the best two-way player in this whole class. Obviously playing both sides of the ball very, very good. Stephon Castle, maybe he's going to want to develop a little bit of a shot. But the good news is if he misses a shot, guess what? Victor Wembanyama's down there to rebound. So really lock in, learn to play, make. Which he can already do. Keep attacking the rim, keep getting to the mid-range. Maybe that three-pointer will come around and really just focus on doing what you were already doing at UConn because you got a guy in there that is really good help. If there is some inconsistencies in your game, Victor Wembanyama can mask some of them up. So I really like that fit, especially because you're going to have a guard that's going to be coming in ready to work defensively right away, and that's somebody right there that I'm very excited to see drafted because I really loved him when he was at UConn last season. Then we had our first big shock of the night. I don't really view it as a huge shock personally, but he wasn't really mocked around this spot. I like Ron Holland's game, but he went here at 5. Did I grade Stephon Castle? He's getting an A. Love Stephon Castle's game. But yeah, the Pistons, they took Ron Holland at 5. Now, I love Ron Holland. Don't get me wrong. I really think he is a really good player. If the Bulls were a team picking the top 5, I might have even been pushing for the Bulls to maybe go after Ron Holland with some of those other guys. He was one of those guys that I was telling you guys that I want the Bulls to target even. But with the Pistons, it feels kind of weird because they have Osar Thompson. Now, that to me is a little weird because Osar is not a great shooter. He ain't a great shooter. So I don't really know what this is going to do for them. Because Ron Holland right away is not going to be an elite shooter. He ain't going to be a great shooter right away. But I love the energy he brings. I love that he can slash. I love that he's going to be a high energy defensive upside kind of guy. Obviously, like I said, slash, get to the basket, do his thing. But that shot's going to need to come around. And if you're running a lineup out there with the Thompson twin and Ron Holland at the same time, that might be a little sketchy. But I think there's a lot of upside there with Ron Holland. I got to give it a B because I don't really know if the offensive fit's going to work, but I really like the player there in Ron Holland. And then we had another shock right back to back. I don't think anybody was expecting this out of the Charlotte Hornets. They went Tijane Saloon out of, I believe he's French. But this is another guy I wanted the Bulls to draft. Very high upside. Right away, he's probably not a super impactful guy, but a team like the Hornets that aren't realistically competing anytime soon need a forward that can develop. He has a lot of tools to be very good. He's shown some flashes defensively. Very good cutter. A guy that might have a little bit of a three ball to him. Very, very interesting prospect at that power forward position. So that's why I wanted the Bulls to look at him, because I do think there is definitely some untapped potential. You get him in the right system, right coaching staff, right developmental team around him. I think if you can get the full potential out of him, he's going to be a very solid player. Then the Trailblazers, they took Donovan Clingan. We kind of heard that Donovan Clingan wasn't making it past the Blazers. And Donovan Clingan is an interesting pick for the Blazers. Obviously, the Blazers have DeAndre Ayton. Obviously, Duop Reed. They have Rob Williams, so they're probably going to move on from one of those names. They're going to probably get rid of Jeremy Grant, maybe move DeAndre Ayton to the 4, which kind of seems weird. Maybe Clingan's just going to be a backup next year. I don't really know what it's going to look like, but it is good for the Blazers. It adds a defensive anchor. Now, in terms of fit, I also did not grade Tijane Saloon. I'm going to give him a B simply because we don't know what he is. I've done that twice now. Good job, GG. I'm doing a great job here. Gamersgoon's doing a great job here. But the Blazers, I think a defensive anchor, obviously, coming off the bench probably is what you're looking at year one, is a guy that probably can become an enforcer-type guy for you. It's just a real question if that offensive game's ever going to do much more than what it is already. We haven't really seen enough flashes out of his offensive game that really proves that he can become a jump shooter at the next level or become a dominant paint force at the next level. It's a lot of just I'm bigger than you bully ball type stuff that might not work at the NBA. But the defense, it will translate. Very good defender. Once again, going to give that a B because I like the player. Don't necessarily love the fit with all those centers there in Portland. Then the Spurs picked, and they kind of confused us all because they drafted another guard, Rob Dillingham. But this pick actually got traded to Minnesota for a 2 future first, I believe, 2031 first and a 2030 pick swap, something like that, I believe. So that's what they gave up to move up. And the Minnesota Timberwolves selected Rob Dillingham. The Minnesota Timberwolves had it in themselves a good draft because we'll talk about what they did later. But Rob Dillingham, I like the guy. I like the fit coming in, being an heir apprentice to obviously Mike Conley. Mike Conley gets maybe, 2 or 3 more years in him. And then this team can really turn around and just become Rob Dillingham's team as the point guard, which I do like. I'd never really wanted to see Rob Dillingham immediately thrown into a starting position because I think there is definitely some development that needs to go on for him. Now, when you look at his game, like I've been saying kind of throughout this draft process, he reminds me a lot of Jordan Clarkson really early on. He's going to be a scorer off the bench. I kind of mentioned Kobe White in the same name for him, that he could be a guy that might see some time off the bench as is pretty much just a scoring guard. But once the opportunity comes and once the right pieces are in place, he becomes that starting player. He can maybe come average 20 points. I'm really high on his game at what he can become, but like I said, I'm not super confident that right away he is ready to take over a team because I view him right now as more of a scoring kind of player, score-first guard in Rob Dillingham. Then Memphis took a little bit of a shocker. Actually, Rob Dillingham, I'm going to give it an A. I really like Rob Dillingham, especially on Minnesota where he's not going to be thrusted in right away to be the starting point guard. 3 times now. Good job, Gamersgoon. We're just having fun, I guess. Number 9, we had the Memphis Grizzlies up, and they did a little bit of a shocker here. We were talking about, well, they could go big if Clingan got here. They were looking at moving up for Clingan. I thought maybe this was a Filipowski spot, By the way, spoiler alert, Filipowski did not go in the first round. Chicago, call up them Raptors at 31, offer them some cash considerations, because Filipowski would look really good in a Bulls jersey. Put him right there. Shout out to my boy Kobe White, by the way. But anyways, they took Zach Edey. Zach Edey is a top 10 pick in this class. Don't get me wrong, I think Zach Edey is a solid player. But is Zach Edey a top 10 pick? Is Zach Edey at his ceiling? I kind of feel like Zach Edey's already what Zach Edey is. In the top 10, if I'm drafting a guy that's kind of just already what he is, I'm not in love with it. I'm not in love with it for a big that really is not the traditional NBA center, that doesn't really stretch the court. If this is why I really loved the fit with him in LA and with the Lakers, is he's not coming in to be immediate like, oh, we need to get our big man. We have AD. He can come in there and he just has simple expectations. Is he going to have simple expectations in Memphis? Is he going to have that when you're playing with a very injury-prone team from last season? You're probably going to be the starting center. Ja Morant's going to want to throw you lobs left and right. It's going to be interesting. Zach Edey, I think in the right situation, would have been a very good pick. I don't know if the Grizzlies were that right situation. I don't know if that's the kind of big man they needed. And Zach Edey, good offensive big, little bit of room to grow maybe defensively. He's going to be able to work with Jaren Jackson, so I'm not concerned too much about the defense. I think it will come around. I'll probably give him a B+. A B+. It fits a need. Just, I wasn't really expecting Zach Edey's name to be called because I don't really know what more there is to Zach Edey's game. And if they can untap what is extra to Zach Edey's game, then that could be one scary player, man. That could be one scary player because he was already a scary college player. If there's more to Zach Edey than what we saw, that could be frightening. That could be very, very frightening. So, shout out to Zach Edey. Number 10, we got the Utah Jazz, man. I was really hating this because the Bulls picked at 11, and I was like, Matas Buzelis and Cody Williams are on the board. They're going to take one of the two, and then we're not really going to have our choice between the two. They went Cody Williams, the one that's better defensively. Cody Williams has a smooth jump shot. A lot of him is going to be projection-based. I think he was a solid defender in college. He projects to be a great NBA defender. Lengthy player, should be pesky on-ball defender. But the shot, I mean, it's there, but it kind of feels like a little bit like Patrick Williams, where it's not nearly as aggressive at times. I'm using a lot of Bulls references, Kobe White, Patrick Williams, but these are literally what these guys remind me of. Patrick Williams, Cody Williams. Cody Williams, not necessarily as aggressive on a Colorado team where he was kind of just letting KJ Simpson and Tristan da Silva do their thing, and he was okay to do that. You might want to see some more aggressiveness out of him. But a team like the Jazz, I think they also had a really good draft. The Jazz, I give them an A- on this pick. Really just because I think they got the position right. They needed more wings. This is a guy that can come in, projects to be solid. And the only reason it's not a higher grade is we don't really know fully what the offense is going to look like fully developed. If he is half of what his brother Jalen Williams is, then this is a home run pick. Because if he's that good, that's a great pick in this class. That's a great pick. Next, the Chicago Bulls. My Chicago Bulls. They took Mattis, I believe he pronounced it in his little post-draft video. Buzelis. I'm happy with it. I do question some of what the starting lineup is going to look like right now. Buzelis, I believe, had 2 blocks a game last year, but some of his game isn't really all that great defensively, which is okay. You don't need to be an elite defensive player right off the bat. And I got to thinking about it. You're coming in to probably replace DeMar DeRozan. It sounds like DeRozan's going to be on his way out, so you're replacing DeMar DeRozan. We're going to need an offensive threat. He's a guy that I think could easily be that offensive threat. I mean, I've talked about it. It seems like he has a lot of confidence in his own game. Obviously, he's a hometown kid, so he's going to even be reassured, has his family around him. He's going to have a good supporting staff around him. Obviously, we didn't think he was going to be there, so we're obviously going to be putting a lot on his shoulders to take big shots, to be a very big offensive threat, and I think he can be that. But when you look at the team defensively, when you look at the potential starting lineup of Kobe White, Zach LaVine, Josh Giddey, Mattis Sabonis, or I want to keep saying Sabonis, Mattis Buzelis, and Vooch, there's not much defense in there. Kobe White tries. Mattis seems like he might be an okay defender year one. Hopefully becomes even better. But there's not really much defense. And that's really the part that I kind of wish that we got to make our decision between Cody Williams and Buzelis, simply because I wanted to see what the Bulls would do. If the Bulls would have took Buzelis still, then I would feel a lot more confident in the pick, because I do think that would signify some moves to come defensively in the free agency, or maybe buying a second round pick, or really just securing up some defense in that lineup. But we didn't get that. We didn't get that decision, and even if that we didn't get that decision, I'm very happy with our pick. So I'm still going to give us an A minus. I think we did a really good job, and it's not our fault we didn't get to make that decision for ourselves, what we're really going to look for. But it does seem like we're setting a reset, and if we're setting a reset with Mattis Buzelis as the guy, as the face of that, I'm very excited to see what that's going to look like, because from last year's All-Star weekend, he was impressive. He didn't show no fear. Even if he missed a shot, he was not backing down. He kept doing the same thing, kept figuring it out, kept fighting through it. And then obviously in this whole draft process, very, very excited to hear him say stuff like, well, I'm very confident in my own game. This is where I want to be, that type of stuff. We love to have a guy like that in Chicago. So we give an A minus to that. Oklahoma City Thunder. They go Nikola Topic. Was an interesting pick because I thought they would go somebody that could play immediately on their team. And I honestly don't really know what to give this as a grade, because I don't necessarily believe Topic will play year one because he is injured. I think they needed a contributor right away. But this pick has a lot of upside. This is a guy that was potentially top 10. This is a guy that can play backup to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. A guy that may be big enough to maybe move to that 2 guard, maybe move to the 3. I mean, it's an interesting pick in Nikola Topic. It's an interesting pick in him. This seems kind of like a Josh Giddey replacement in Nikola Topic. It's kind of what it feels like. I give it a B because I think there were some more impactful names right away. But I am intrigued with the pick. And obviously they seem to have a plan. And it could be interesting what that plan might turn out to be. Next, 13, Sacramento Kings. Love what they did. Devin Carter. I know they have a crowded backcourt. Davion Mitchell, your days are probably numbered if I were to guess. Devin Carter's coming in. He's going to play 2 ways, offensive, defensive. Gives you what Davion Mitchell does and some more on the offensive side of the ball. Davion Mitchell, you're probably going to be on some other team soon. Hate to break it to you, but you're probably going to be moving off to some other team. Send him to Chicago, please. I'll take him in Chicago as a backup guard. I would love that, actually. But, yeah, I really love the fit there, Devin Carter. Probably just going to be a backup year one, which is fine. This is a team ready to compete last year. They were in the playoffs, or I believe playing, one of the two. But they were a solid team. They have the pieces. They obviously have Sabonis. They have De'Aaron Fox. Now they have Devin Carter. They obviously have Keegan Murray. This is a team ready to compete. They needed a guy to come in, be impactful right off the bat, and that is Devin Carter. So I'm giving them an A on Devin Carter. Really love that pickup for them. Then the Wizards. This is the pick they traded from the Blazers. The Wizards, they select Bub Carrington, one of my favorite players in this whole draft. Bub Carrington. Shout out to my boy Bub. He is a top lottery pick, and it's exciting. It's exciting for him. I think he does have a lot of upside offensively. He's going to have some upside defensively. He's going to get a play with Alexander Sarr. So that's going to, I mean, the focal point of your team isn't even going to be Bub Carrington. Bub Carrington's expectations aren't going to be extremely high right off the bat, because all those expectations are going to be on Alexander Sarr. So you don't even have to worry too much year one. I would be happy if I'm Bub Carrington. You go play with him. You're obviously going to go play with Jordan Poole, Kyle Kuzma. You got pieces around you that can shoot. Bub Carrington's going to be able to play make. He's going to have some freedom to go do his own thing when it comes to scoring. I'm really excited to see what Bub Carrington's able to do with the Wizards. I love that fit for him. I'm going to give Bub Carrington a B+. I love Bub Carrington as a player. I love the Wizards fit. I do think there might have been some other names I would have considered, but Bub Carrington, I like the guy. I like the team. We'll give it a B plus. 15, we have Kel'el Ware. Kel'el Ware out of Oregon / Indiana. Yeah, we're still claiming him. We're still claiming him here at Oregon. Yeah, we're going to claim him. But yeah, Miami Heat, very interesting. He can play the 4. Maybe Bam's going to play the 4, but I expect both of them to play. Very interesting fit. I expect him to do well. He's going to be playing under Erik Spoelstra, who we all know. Coach Spoelstra is one of the best coaches in the NBA. He usually gets a lot out of players, and I expect the same thing to be here with Kel'el Ware. I expect him to be the same thing. Excited to see what Kel'el Ware can do. I'm going to give Kel'el Ware to the Miami Heat another B+. I think that's a really good fit for him. Philadelphia 76ers, they took Jared McCain, the shooter out of Duke. I'm excited for Jared McCain. I was very high on his game. I was talking about maybe the Bulls could have drafted him in another universe where they didn't have all these guards on the roster. But Jared McCain is exactly what I think the 76ers need. At times last year, you needed players that weren't named Tyrese Maxey or Joel Embiid to score. Jared McCain can do that. He can do that for you. And I'd be excited if I'm Jared McCain because you're going to go play, obviously, a lot of the focal point is Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey. Those guys can both go for 40 any night. So you're going to have a lot of freedom as that third, fourth scorer to go hit your 3-pointers, attack when necessary, and really just ease yourself into the NBA. So I'd be really excited if I was Jared McCain. Jared McCain, I love that fit. I'm giving that fit an A. I really, really like that move. Thought maybe Dalton Knecht could have been the pick there, but he wasn't. Speaking about Dalton, the Lakers are the ones that stopped Dalton Knecht's fall. I was surprised he fell all the way to 17, and the Lakers hit a home run because the Lakers just needed a guy to perfectly fall to them and be a perfect plug-and-play guy to play alongside their stacked roster of guys that just couldn't get the job done. Obviously, they had AD, LeBron, D'Lo's there, Spencer Dinwiddie's there, Austin Reeves is there. I mean, they have a loaded roster, and they get Dalton Knecht, who can come in and score 15, 20 points in games here and there at the next level. I think Dalton Knecht can. I mean, we saw him score, 30, 40 points in games in college. He ain't going to slow down his offensive side of the ball. He's going to be able to come in. He's going to become one of those Lakers guys that all these Lakers fans fall in love with. He's going to come in. He's going to be a big-time scorer. Probably, does he start? I don't know if he's going to start right away, but he's going to be a guy that you're going to be able to plug and play in the rotation immediately. So very good job from the Lakers. I'm giving him an A+, the first A+, I believe, of this entire this entire draft review thing. There's just no way that Dalton Knecht fell all the way to 17th and they got him. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Of course the Lakers would get him. I was worried about them getting Filipowski. And they got Dalton Knecht for free. Ridiculous. The Orlando Magic at 18 took one of my favorite players in this draft, Tristan da Silva. An interesting fit. I think there's obviously some forward answers there at the power forward position, but maybe they view him more as a small forward at the next level. Tristan da Silva comes in. He can impact rotation right away. A team that was pushing for the playoffs last year. Obviously, they were in it. Didn't have the success they might have wanted. Another rotational piece to put in day one. I like the move. I'm going to give that move an A-. I really like the move. Tristan da Silva, one of my favorite players in this class. Number 19, we have Jacoby Walter. I was kind of shocked to see Jacoby Walter come to the Raptors. I did not really expect that. I kind of thought with some of the names on the board, the Isaiah Colliers, the Tyler Koleks, those kind of guys, that we might hear their names called. But Jacoby Walter fell in their lap. Good player. Has a lot of upside. To me, he kind of feels, not necessarily a lesser version, but similar to what Rob Dillingham is, where he can come in, he can be a scorer right away. And Jacoby Walter is that kind of guy. For me, I give that one a B in that. Cleveland Cavaliers, they took Jalen Tyson. I really like Jalen Tyson out of Cal, man. I really like him. There's only one problem. I don't know if I like him with the Cavs. I think they needed big man help, and that was not a big man. Isaac Okoro, you might be counting your days too. We talked about Davion Mitchell talking his days. Isaac Okoro, Jalen Tyson might be pushing you off that team also. So if you want to trade Isaac Okoro, Give Chicago a call. But yeah, Jalen Tyson, interesting pick. Not necessarily the right fit for me. I'm going to give it a B. The New Orleans Pelicans, they took Yves Missi out of Baylor center. This is one of the guys that I'm not super high on in terms of the center prospects. It is what it is. I think center would have been in play for them. I thought Collier could be in play. But ultimately, it's just a pick that I'm not super excited about personally. I'll probably give it a B minus, probably the lowest grade we'll give here today. The Phoenix Suns traded their pick to Denver, I believe, for the 28th pick, and on top of that, like the 51st pick or something like that. But the Phoenix Suns, they drafted DaRon Holmes to go to Denver. Wow. I did not expect DaRon Holmes to Denver, but I love it. I'm a big DaRon Holmes supporter. I liked him at Dayton. I think he can play, obviously, the NBA style of the big man. He's got Nikola Jokic next to him, so he ain't going to be a true center. He gets to play power forward at the next level at 6'8". He obviously can ball handle a little bit, can shoot the ball a little bit. Kind of looks, not necessarily looks, but feels kind of similar to a lesser version obviously everybody can be a lesser version of Nikola Jokic, but kind of has that Nikola Jokic feel to his game. So I really like DaRon Holmes here, and he's a guy that I think obviously they're going to be able to get a lot out of early on in his career. I think he's going to be a guy that's going to be able to come in and impact the team right away. So DaRon Holmes, I give that one a very, very high B+, like almost A-, but a B+. Milwaukee Bucks. Now I'm going to give the spoiler alert. The Milwaukee Bucks and the New York Knicks are going to get the two worst grades in the first round for me. First, we have Milwaukee Bucks taking A.J. Johnson. Now, A.J. Johnson is pretty much just complete potential, average about 3 points a game in the Australian Basketball League, I believe it was. I don't really know what it is about A.J. Johnson's game that we're looking at. It's all projection here. I hope he turns out to be a good player, but for me, I ain't going to give him a high grade and act like I think this is a great pick. I'm giving it a C at best. At best, I got to give it a C. I just did not understand this pick for them. And this might be a Chris Middleton replacement eventually, but this is a guy that's going to need some development. And obviously, you could look at the same thing about Giannis when he was drafted. Just because I'm not seeing the vision right now with A.J. Johnson does not mean A.J. Johnson's a bad player or will be a bad player. Because you look at Giannis. Giannis wasn't that great even coming out. He was a lot of projection, but the Bucks were able to develop him. And A.J. Johnson, could he be the next guy the Bucks develop into being a star? Maybe. But for right now, I got to give him a C. I don't want to disrespect A.J. Johnson, but right now, I think there were some other names on the board that are more ready to play and better fits for a team with Damian Lillard, a team with Giannis Antetokounmpo, a team with Chris Middleton that is still trying to compete for an NBA championship next year. So that's why I would give it a C, because there might be some upside there with A.J. Johnson, but are you really in an upside window, or are you trying to get Giannis another championship before he hits the open market? Next, we have the New York Knicks taking a trade from Washington. And Washington take Keyshawn George. This was the one pick with Washington that I was not super all for. Keyshawn George, to me, feels a little bit projection. Not necessarily as much as A.J. Johnson, but a little bit more projection here. I think he might be able to turn into a solid offensive player, but I think there is some way, a little bit of a ways for him to go. We're going to give him a B- here to the Washington Wizards. He'll have plenty of opportunity, though, so he could easily, in 2 or 3 years, obviously figure it out. Next, we have the New York Knicks, and I'm sorry to my boy. I'm sorry. I have a friend that is a Knicks fan, and he said something very specific when the Knicks came up. I said, Filipowski's on the board, Collier's on the board for you. He said, well, Collier and Filipowski would be great for us. They'd be great. He said, the one thing I hope we don't do is go Paco Daddier. I believe that's how you pronounce his name. They went Paco Daddier. Guard, Paco Daddier. Now, I don't fully know much about this guy's game. I'm not going to claim that I do. But it did not seem like Knicks fans were very happy. Stephen A. Smith did not look very happy. And once again, I'm not going to come in here and completely disrespect these guys that have all this potential or whatever. I'm going to give him a C. Obviously, we don't know what he is just yet. But with the guys they could have got to impact their rotation that no longer has any salary cap to bring back Isaiah Hartenstein next year, you probably should have went for a guy like a Kyle Filipowski. You probably should have went for a big man. But you didn't do it. You didn't go for a high-impact player right away. It's a guy that's going to probably take a couple years. Then we had the Wizards, which was traded to New York, which was then traded to Oklahoma City, all to take Dillon Jones out of Weber State. Dillon Jones, I think he'll be able to score at the next level. Going to an OKC team that obviously they took somebody that might not play next year. He can probably impact the rotation. Kind of like Hassan Wallace did. You find a spot on the rotation early on. If it's Dillon Jones, probably coming off the bench. I'm going to give it a solid B-. A solid B-, but that's what we're going to give Dillon Jones. Minnesota Timberwolves, you guys hit a home run, man. The Minnesota Timberwolves, you should be happy. You walked out of this draft with Rob Dillingham, and I don't got any Illinois stuff around, do I? I don't got no Illinois stuff around. Actually, I do have an Illinois towel. Hold on. And Illinois starting shooting guard, the star of the Illinois program last season, Terrence Shannon Jr. Happy to hear his name called. Terrence Shannon, fully deserving of making it in the NBA draft. Obviously, one of the best players in college basketball last year. Very excited to hear his name called. Terrence Shannon should come in on the Timberwolves, impact the team right away. Like I mentioned with Rob Dillingham, probably a guy that can sit behind Mike Conley. I'm not necessarily saying that Terrence Shannon can come in and start. But he is a player that in a pinch you feel comfortable starting. Older player, comes in, impacts rotation, could be 6th, 7th man right away and impact your team, able to score, able to do everything for you, plays both sides of the ball, will be able to help out Anthony Edwards when Anthony Edwards needs a break, should really look good on that team. Very excited for him, fitting a team that I think can compete for an NBA championship. Very excited, very happy for Terrence Shannon for making it here in the first round. There's not very many Illinois players that get to go in the first round, so we're very, very proud of Terrence Shannon for doing that. So shout out to Terrence Shannon. TSJ, soon as Fanatics gets their stuff together, I'm ordering my TSJ Timberwolves jersey. I tried to do that earlier tonight, and it just said draft pick, and I did not want no Rob Dillingham Timberwolves jersey. They also didn't have Mattis Bezelis' jersey up either. I was trying to get his too, but the Fanatics, you gotta figure it out, man. You gotta figure it out because I'm out here trying to give you, what are they, $80 each? I'm trying to pay y'all. I'm trying to give y'all a payday, man. And y'all playing games. Where is my draft jerseys, man? Where are they? Terrence Shannon, I give that an A+. I love that pick. Especially, I thought it would make a lot of sense for a team that was competing. And he went to a team that's competing. I'm very happy for him. He can easily, in the next few years, win an NBA championship. I think that's definitely in the cards for the Timberwolves. I think they should be considering really approaching that window. Obviously, they really made it close this year to making it to the finals. I think they could maybe make it over the hump in the next few years. The Denver Nuggets traded this pick to Phoenix, and they took Ryan Dunn. I don't know about that. I really look at this Phoenix team, and I look at them and say, I don't want Devin Booker playing point guard. Tyler Kolek's on the board. I want him. I look at this team. I say Isaiah Collier's on the board. I want him. They took Ryan Dunn. Now, Ryan Dunn makes sense here if you're in Phoenix, to be honest. Devin Booker, not historically a great defender. Bradley Beal, not historically a great defender. Kevin Durant can play defense. Your center question is a good question. Who's running center for you? Who am I not thinking of that's their center there? I'm probably forgetting somebody, but anyways, they could use some defense. Ryan Dunn makes some sense. Does it make more sense than a guard that can push Devin Booker out of that point guard spot? I don't know. Interesting. Ryan Dunn, though, interesting. Limited upside player at this point in time if that offense never comes around. I'm going to give it a B because I don't know if that offensive game will ever come around, but very good defensive player. Will probably be in the rotation early on in his NBA career. 29, we got the Utah Jazz. The Utah Jazz absolutely got away with everything. They got Cody Williams, who they got their pick of the litter of forwards. Do they want one that potentially could defend really well, or do they want one that's potentially a really good offensive player? Now, they just get a free former top 5 pick before last season's college season, where he didn't really do all that bad outside the first few months, about a month and a half, 2 months. And Isaiah Collier. They get Isaiah Collier to pair along with Keontae George to move Keontae George back to shooting guard. So their starting lineup is going to be Isaiah Collier, Keontae George, Cody Williams. Obviously Walker Kessler, whatever, power forwards, John Collins, Larry Mark, whatever. That they can figure that out. Those 3 that I mentioned right there, they're young. They have a lot of upside. They're going to be very good. I don't even think Isaiah Collier's upside. I think his floor is even really good. I think what Isaiah Collier is right now is a very good basketball player. I think his potential is also a very good basketball player, a way better basketball player. Keontae George was really good last year. Cody Williams, we project him to be a very good player. That could be a very good team in 3 or 4 years. The Jazz, they hit a home run. With this pick here, with Isaiah Collier, they're getting an A+. I don't know how they could have messed it up, and they didn't. Talk about a team that didn't mess it up, but they had Kyle Filipowski fall in the laps of the Boston Celtics, who just won the NBA championship, who has an old Al Horford, who might be retiring at any point in the next few seasons. Pass on Kyle Filipowski? I don't know what Kyle Filipowski did, what he said to somebody, what kind of injury he has or anything. Kyle Filipowski, there's some red flag there. Because how is he not drafted in the first round as a stretch big that showed a lot of promise at Duke? Don't make no sense. Baylor Scheierman gets drafted. Baylor Scheierman, a good enough player to go in the first round, in my opinion. He's immediately ready to play right away. Boston Celtics, they're going to plug and play him. He's going to be a shooter. He might take Sam Hauser's role. I think it's a good pick. I give it a B+. Would have been an A+ if he took Kyle Filipowski. I don't know how Kyle Filipowski has not been drafted. That is the moral of this whole video. Where did Kyle Filipowski go wrong? I cannot believe Kyle Filipowski's still on the board. If I'm the Chicago Bulls, if I'm the organization that I put on my chest every single time that the Bulls play the game, if I'm them, if I'm AK and Mark Eversley, hello, Raptors. Yeah, so we would like to offer you some cash considerations for for pick 31. Yeah, how much do you? Okay, yeah, all right, yeah, sure. It's a pleasure doing business. Hop on the phone and call in for cash considerations. I don't really know how much a second round pick usually goes for, to be honest with you. But whatever it is, Kyle Filipowski is a steal. People had him projected in the lottery. In the lottery, he has the tools to be an NBA big. And he hasn't been drafted? Where did he go wrong? Where did he go wrong? Somebody's getting a steal tomorrow. We'll talk about it tomorrow. Thank you for watching. Night 1 of the NBA draft. Review, recap, whatever you want to call it. Baylor Scheierman. Did I even grade him? We'll give him a B+ if I didn't grade him. If I graded him, whatever I said back then, we're going to say they did an okay job of Baylor Scheierman. Would have been fine. If you would have took Kyle Filipowski, man, you would have had an A+. Because it would have made a lot of sense. It is what it is. Thank you for watching. See you guys next time.